Oh, hello and welcome to a North Wales side-by-side video. Once again, I'm on the 20 mile an hour subject in Wales. And I want to highlight something. I want to highlight how large some of these 20 mile an hour zones are. And I'm going to show you a journey from my house back to my house. So I'm travelling from a village called Llisfine. I'm going to travel to Old Colwyn, through the village, through into Colwyn Bay, and I'm going to go all the way to Penryn Bay, through Penryn Side, past Llandrillo College, and I'm then going to come down the coast road which runs along the seafront all the way from Penryn Bay back to Old Colwyn, back through Old Colwyn, back up the mountain and back to Llisfine. And there's one piece of road in the entire footage 20 miles an hour, and I'll highlight it in the video. The one and only piece of road I could do 40 miles an hour, and the rest of the journey is a 20 mile an hour zone. You'll get some impression of what the impact is on everyday life in Wales. It is absolutely and utterly crazy what our Welsh communist government have done. You've got to remember, the North Wales coast relies on people coming to visit. Tourism is our biggest industry. The impact that this speed limit is going to have on the tourism industry in North Wales is absolutely immense. It's going to absolutely cripple the entire North Wales coast. Nobody will want to come into North Wales and have to cope with what we are having to cope with on a daily basis. I warn you now, the video is extremely long. I'll put in the video my total mileage, and once I go onto the My Toyota app on my phone, I will show you the map of the journey route, and that will give you an idea of how big this 20 mile an hour zone is. Watch the video. It is one very educational video, and it's probably going to put a lot of people off coming here. Don't even enjoy the journey, because I'm at the point now where I'm going home, I'm going to find my air pistol, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the head. Thank you.
Shut up and sit down.
Oh, hello and welcome on the most adventurous journey known to mankind. It's a road trip in Wales under our new 20 mile an hour restrictions. The trip consists of starting in the village I live in the 20 mile an hour restriction. My whole village now is 20 miles an hour, and it's probably safer at certain times of the day, but you're watching the video now. How quiet is this? There's nobody about. The kids are in school. They're not due out of school for another hour and a half, so we're at a real quiet point in the day. There's nobody at the kids' play park because the kids are in school. There's always going to be a couple of people buzzing around this little area, but not today. It's quiet. There's nobody at the shops, there's nobody at the bus stop. Which is why I think these speed limits shouldn't be mandatory 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week. They should be using variable speed limits, so at certain times of the day they can drop the speed limit to a safer limit, and once you're past at a certain time, revert back to the original speed limit. Schools, for instance, 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the morning, 20 miles an hour, then revert back to 30, and again do the same thing in the afternoon just before the school closes. Variable speed limit, drop it back to 20 once all the kids have been picked up. School's closed, back to 30. That's how it should have been done. Intelligent speed limits. But the Welsh Government just haven't got the intelligence to do that. They just want to go, sorry lads, but this is where you are. You live in Wales and you do as you're told. If we tell you to jump off a cliff, you'll say, which cliff do you want me to jump off? And that's what they want out of the Welsh people. Right, I'm now going down what we call Clobbering Road. And I'm about to join the A547. And the piece of road I'm about to join is only a little short stretch of the A547. And this is where I enter the one and only 40 zone on this entire little journey. I'm going to dive into the lay-by here because I just want to zero all my trips so I can get the mileage roughly. And I wanted just to spend 2 or 3 minutes just to see how much traffic was buzzing about, because this area can be very, very busy. But today it wasn't. It was very, very quiet. Done all my trips, zeroed my fuel consumption, computer. Let's enjoy the fastest part of the journey. This is the quickest part of the journey. We've got split screen video for this entire video, which took me quite a long time to sync it together. As you're looking at your screen now, left hand side is my rear camera, right is the front. I'm very, very close now to the beginning of the 20 zone that we're about to drop into. There's the sign. Right, everything in this video from here is done at the breakneck speed of 20 or less. This is where the video gets really exciting. This is where all the action happens. And if you're watching this now thinking, I've slowed this video down, look in the corners at the timestamp and you'll find that timestamp has not altered. I put the timestamp in case anybody said, you've slowed this video down to make it look slower than it really is in real life. No, I haven't. Both the timestamps in both of the videos on that split screen are synchronized together to give you an impression in real life what it feels like to drive in Wales on the roads. This is what we're coping with now. I'm coming down the A547 now, and I'm heading into a place called Old Colwyn. There has been multiple deaths on this particular piece of road over the years. There hasn't been one for a long, long time. On the right hand side there in the picture, that's the old Queen's Hotel. It's now a residential home, a big residential home. I'm coming up to one of the older hotels, the Lindale, that's on the left. And that car sales place many years ago used to be the Bluebird petrol station, many years ago. And it also used to be the turnaround point when we had trams. Yes, the trams used to run these roads many years ago. And later in the video, I'll show you where the tram station used to be, where the trams were worked on and maintained and parked up overnight. Because it's also in this video, but the building's long gone. But I still know where it is. Now, we are into the village of Old Colwyn now. There's a couple of pubs in the village. There's a Bucky's there. There's an Indian takeout on the right hand side in the shops. Jackie's Kebab House on the right hand side. That building up in front of you there is the Cuckoo, and there's also a gymnasium in there. Up on the left, we're coming up to the Co-op on one of the petrol stations. Now we're running up towards the Marine Hotel now. The Marine is on the left hand side as we get to the roundabout, the mini roundabout, where if you go left you can go up to Llanellian and Dolwyn, go right you can drop down onto the promenade. We'll be coming up that way later in the video, or get to the 55, or straight on as I'm going to do, taking the third exit, because the second exit takes you up to the senior school. So I'm still on the A547, and I'm heading out past the North Wales Police Headquarters, which is on my right, which you're not going to see in the video, but believe me, It's a big building. And one of our chief constables many years ago, whilst they were doing some work on the building, decided to test the security and decided to climb up the scaffolding to get into his own building. It would have been safer to go through the door because he had keys. Colwyn Bay Fire Station's on the left hand side, just as I'm going past. You probably saw the fire engine on Blues and Twos going past the other way. He just popped out. Hope it was nothing serious. To the right hand side, we've got the stadium where they have the Welsh rugby and lots of concerts during the summer. The place is brilliant. It's a really, really nice stadium. And we've got a leisure centre in there, and there's also another senior school in there. On the right hand side off this roundabout is the entrance to the stadium, and on the left you've got North Wales Honda, the local motorbike shop. We've got another school on the left here. It's a school that's for Welsh speakers, and everything is done in Welsh. There's no English spoken at all in that school. We're heading into Colwyn Bay now. This is the Dingle area of Colwyn Bay. We've got another petrol station, and there's also an MOT and service station behind that. Old Mercedes-Benz dealership used to be here, and a Porsche dealership. Yeah, Colwyn Bay used to have a Mercedes and a Porsche dealership. We also had a British Leyland dealership, which is now, the building's still there, and it's operated by Sturmat, the hardware company. It's a massive building. Now we're headed towards town centre now. We've got shops both sides of the road, so traffic's always at a crawl through this part of town. It never moves particularly quickly in this one little area in Colwyn Bay. We've got St Paul's Church on my left hand side. This just gives you some concept of where I am in the video, and the fact I've got the time to actually sit, watch the video and tell you some of the highlights and some of the sights you're going to miss when you don't bother coming to Wales. You've got some idea what you're missing. We're now coming up on this monstrosity of a building on the left hand side, which is offices for Conway County Borough Council. It's a horrible building. It's so out of place with the Victorian theme of Colwyn Bay. You look in the review on there, big glass monstrosity, and in the background you've got red brick Victorian built buildings, limestone Victorian buildings. Then they go and put that up. Yeah, they get away with anything the council do. You or me tried to build a building like that, we wouldn't get planning permission for it, but it's the council, they get away with it. Corruption again in government. Oh, we're heading now towards the west end of Colwyn Bay. We've got the playing fields for Rydal Penross, the private school that's in Colwyn Bay. On the left hand side, you can see how pretty Colwyn Bay is. It's tree-lined roads, old Victorian buildings. It is a nice town. It's a little bit more run down than it was when I was younger. Colwyn Bay was bustling 30 years ago. It's not as busy as it used to be. there's not as much there now. Now I'm going to stop at this set of traffic lights. You can see a little store in front of you. Well, that used to be a Ford dealership on that corner called KJ Ford. And I think they were an RS Ford dealer as well. And I remember going to have a look at an RS 200. A pucker real Ford RS 200 that they had in their showroom. Yeah, there's a lot of memories in Colwyn Bay from when I was growing up. You'd go down there on a Saturday afternoon and you'd go, oh, they got an RS 2000 in the showroom, they got a Mexico, Mark 1s, Mark 2s, oh, they were everywhere. It was a good time to be alive. So I'm going to take the second junction on this roundabout now, which is labelled Standard now, because again I'm still on the 547. I've got access to Mokra on the left, and I've also got access to the A55 at this junction as well, at this set of traffic lights. But we're going straight on, and we're going to head off down towards another roundabout that we call Five Ways. And it was the roundabout we used to use when I was training motorcyclists to learn roundabout etiquette. It was the roundabout we used all the time because it's one of the most complicated roundabouts in our area, but we used it because the traffic was always slow and relatively light here, but busy enough for the people that were being taught to think about where they position their bikes, because that's why we call it Five Ways. There's 5 exits on and off. It's a complicated roundabout. Right, we're heading out of what is the west end of Colwyn Bay now, and we're heading towards Penryn Side. We're still 20 miles an hour. As you can see, everything is interconnected by 20 miles an hour. And this is multiple little villages, little towns. My car threw a dicky fit there. I'm in active cruise control. It slowed down to let that BMW turn into their drive, and then it spent a long time deciding to move again. It was really weird. I'm just coming over the crest of this hill, and on the left hand side coming up very soon you've got an American diner called Hickory's, and it's worth a visit. The food is really, really nice. It used to be called The Ship many years ago. When we were in college, this is where you'd find many a drunk student at dinner time who'd then stagger back to class in the afternoon, and yeah, you wonder how you got an education when you're allowed out at dinner time to go out and get absolutely hammered, which we did. Oh yeah, we did pass our exams and we did get flipping degrees. And we did have a good time. Right, we're going to drop down the hill now, and we're going to go past Llandrillo College, the technical college. We're in an area called Llandrillo and Ross, and we're heading towards Penryn Bay and Penryn Side when we get to the bottom of this hill. I've actually lost a piece of footage there. I don't know what happened to it, but in that piece of footage I was going to show you the building where they used to house and maintain the trams, but I don't know what happened to the piece of footage. I do apologise, but I know the video is still in sync, but I don't know what happened to that piece. No idea. Doesn't matter. You've still got some idea of what it's like at snail pace in Wales. I'm going to head up to the roundabout now at Penryn Bay. I could have gone to Llandudno at this roundabout, but I chose not to, because I was trying to get some impression of how large the 20 zone is. So I was staying in the 20 zone because you might just pick up a 30 sign there. There it is, there's a 30 sign. That is 30 just going up the hill to Llandudno. I'm still in the 20. I'm going to head down now the road that runs along the coast, all the way from Penryn Bay all the way to Old Colwyn. So I'll go through Penryn Bay, Ross-on-Sea, Colwyn Bay, Old Colwyn, all the way at 20 miles an hour. So I'll just run down the promenade now. We'll just run the entire promenade. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting down here. I did notice though, a little bit further down, there used to be a golf clubhouse. I'll point it out when we get there. But it's been turned into some really nice apartments. Everything gets turned into apartments these days. Again, I want to emphasise, this is real time. I haven't slowed the video down. This is what you've got to cope with now. There's no jiggery pokery with the video. I haven't speeded it up and I haven't slowed it down. This is actual real time. Because I bet some people are thinking, no way can somebody go that slow. But yeah, we are. That red roof building you can see on the right there, that used to be the clubhouse for the golf club. And all that's nice new apartments now. They will be worth a fortune because it's coast and you look at the seas to my left and that's what people like. We're running down the coastal defence wall. I could have took a right here and gone straight into the middle of Ross-on-Sea, but I wanted to run the coast road because I've not run this road for a long time and I need to get to know what restrictions they've put where, when and what's going on in the area, so I've got a good idea. what we can and can't get away with. I think we're about 26 minutes into the video now. If my sums are correct, we've got to be getting close to being out for 26 minutes. We're heading towards Roast Point now. Roast Point is just around this corner. When I was younger, if you stood on Roast Point at low tide and looked out a couple of 100 foot, there used to be a World War II fighter plane, and all you could see was the tail. And sadly, due to time and corrosion, it's gone now, but I always remember it as a kid. We got quite excited about seeing the old plane that was out to sea. It was one of the highlights of coming to Ross-on-Sea. Can you see its tail? Can you see the plane? Corrosion's got the better of it now, salt water. You can see the jetty there to your left. Well, the jetty. The breakwater. That's been there for a good few years. Because at one point, Ross-on-Sea used to flood on a regular basis. And it was only because of the surge. And that actually has made a lot of difference. It breaks up the waves so they don't come over and flood the little village. Again, you can see it's all old Victorian buildings. This whole area is tourism. It's all about tourism. And we're going to lose the tourism trade. Because a lot of people, I'm seeing in my comments now, they don't want... I don't know if it's just a knee-jerk reaction or what, but they're all saying we're not coming to Wales. We're just going to avoid it. I'm going to find out soon. I'll find out next year because our tourist system is now... It's finished, it's over. We've just had a tourist season. The kids have gone back to school after the summer holidays now. And yeah, guess where we're heading for next? Christmas. That can't be far away now. We're in September. It's probably less than 100 days. In normality, I wouldn't be turning right here. I'd be going straight down. But they've been working on this section of the promenade for many, many years now. And I did notice something when I was driving down here. Something that wasn't here a couple of weeks ago. All these speed humps, they're new. They weren't there last time I used this piece of road, and that was probably only about 4 weeks ago. I came down, going the other way obviously, but there was no speed humps there. They're all brand new. There's another one. These are all been planned to coincide with our communistic government's 20 mile an hour implementation of the speed limits. Right, we're off Cayley Bank. We're just dropping off. This part of the promenade is called Cayley. Look at the view. Look at the view in front of you. North Wales coast is just mountains. I live on top of that mountain somewhere. is that we're out of Ross-on-Sea now, and we're heading to go through Colwyn Bay. If I turned right here, went up the hill, I'd be back into Colwyn Bay, railway station area, main post office, Princess Road, that sort of area. You'll be able to see in the distance now, to the left, what's left of our pier. That used to be a full-length Victorian pier, and they knocked it down, and what they rebuilt is that a little short thing that just juts out into the sea. It's just a token gesture by the council, because they said when they took it down they'd rebuild it, and that's what they put back up. A token gesture. Well, I suppose, yeah, they rebuilt it, but not to its full length. I remember almost running a policeman over on that yump by the pier. I was coming back one Sunday night from a North Wales Car Club meeting, and we'd all left. We'd had a good night, and it was a windy, horrible, wet, raining night, and I come over the crest, and there was a policeman stood in the middle of the road because one of the manhole covers had come up, and I only saw him at the last minute. I must have scared the pants off him. Always remember almost hitting that guy. Luckily I didn't hit him. That was in the days when policemen wore no high vis. They just wore black. Alright, we're running down the promenade now back towards Old Colwyn. And in a moment I'm going to turn off the promenade because I can't go any further down it due to them doing even more roadworks, and something they've been doing for nearly 3 years. They still haven't finished. They've been putting sea defences in, and they've been at it 3 years, and they're blaming COVID for stopping them working and putting them miles behind and costs going up and all this. So we're going to turn right here, and we've got again access and exits onto the A55 here. And we're going to climb up, and we're back in Old Colwyn now. We're back where we start. Well, basically we're back where we started the video. I'm just going to run up now, just let the video roll, and I love when people do that to the buses. The bus is indicating to come out, and they just drive around the bus. What's wrong with just flashing your lights and just letting him out? He was indicating way before that car decided to go past him. People are just in too much of a rush. it's not held me back. And he's only in front of the bus. So what was the point? You might as well have let the bus go, because the bus is going to pull over into one of the bus stops in a little bit anyhow. So let him go. He's poor bugger's trying to do his job. His job's stressful enough as it is. And I bet it's even more stressful now. I bet it's increased the bus journey times. It's going to cost the bus companies more money, because if they want to keep their timetables that they're running now, they're going to have to put more buses on, which is going to cost them more in resources, people, fuel. It's going to impact a lot of people. I've noticed my hybrid at the moment. You've probably seen the video. There is a video where I've been monitoring my fuel economy, and it's dropped by 7 miles to the gallon. It shouldn't do that, a hybrid. This is the most painful hill. This is a long hill up onto the mountain. This has always been 30. All of my life, all 55 years of my life, this hill has been a 30 zone. Always has been. You could get a little bit of momentum up the hill in the hybrids that we're running these days, and you could drop the car onto the hybrid system. And you'd come up the hill partially on petrol, partially on electric. But not anymore. This is a pure petrol hill now. I can't get the momentum going to get the car to drop onto hybrid. Pure petrol now. So I'm actually creating more emissions now than I did in the past, running at 30 miles an hour. We're actually on Berthaglid Road. That's what the road's called. See where they put the bus stop? Right by a traffic calming measure in the middle of the road. You do actually have to stop there when the bus stops. You just can't get round them. They've not left enough space. They're a real clever bunch of people, the council are. And then there's another bus stop there. Right, we're actually on the flat part of the mountain now. We're at the top. We're not at the highest point of the mountain, but we're actually as high as I'm going. Again, I'm still running in a 20 zone. Since the beginning of the video, when we came out of that little 40 zone and dropped into a 20, this entire journey, and I hope you've not fallen asleep and you're still with me, has been at the new government's rules. We've got our village church to the left, we've got the church hall to the left, and we've got a nice building on the right there that used to be the local post office. It's now a private residence. This part of the road has always been a 20 zone, because just around this very tight right hand bend, we've got the local primary school and infant school. Believe it or not, they actually bring buses up this road. It is a nightmare when they send a bus up this road. But they only do it on certain buses at certain times of the day. And I just don't know the bus timetable, so I never know I'm going to meet a bus. All these houses on this road here, where we are now, these were all built pre-World War II. All this is pre-World War II buildings, except for these new builds were built when I was probably 10, 11 years old. That block of shops there, pre-World War II. The bungalows on the right, pre-World War II. These are new build. These were like built at the same time as the rest of the estate, probably when I was 10 or 12, probably 40 years ago now. At one time, none of these houses existed. This was just fields when I was a kid. Everything was just green fields. And all these houses on the left never existed. It was just fields. The houses on the right never existed. All fields. This was a really, really sparsely populated village when I was growing up. The road I'm on now didn't even exist. Now we're back into the old part of the village, which is pre-World War II. These roads have existed for years, thousands of years actually. They were all cart tracks. And they were just repurposed. But this is the journey over. That's it, we're over, we're finished. I hope you enjoyed a 20 mile an hour, very exciting drive around the North Wales 20 zone.